Remember when buying something actually meant reaching into your wallet, counting out the bills, and actually feeling the texture of cash as you handed it over? Now back then, you see, every dollar had weight, both mentally and physically. Money wasn't just a number on a screen, it was actually something that you could hold, and every time you spent it, you felt a small physical sense of loss. But today, things have changed. Money's become a tap, a swipe, or a number that just flickers and fades without us even noticing it. You see, over the last decade, digital wallets like Apple Pay and Google Pay have become almost unavoidable. It's actually estimated that Apple Pay alone is active on nearly 80% of the iPhones in the US. But what feels like a really simple innovation in payment technology actually hides a much deeper problem. It's creating a kind of financial numbness, and it might be costing us way more than we actually realize it. You see, here's the actual issue. When you pay with cash, like I mentioned, you feel the physical act of spending. In psychological studies, people report something called the pain of paying. It's that slight discomfort, that moment of hesitation that makes us think twice. And studies published in the Journal of Consumer Research have shown that using cash actually causes people to spend less money and make more cautious choices. Why? Well, because it all comes down to the tangibility of money. You feel the loss. But digital payments, they actually completely erase that pain. They make money feel weightless, even unreal. It's just like a video game. When you tap your phone or you swipe your card, you don't feel anything, and this seamless process actually tricks your brain. Behavioral economists have found that digital transaction bypass the part of the brain that's responsible for caution. So we're way more likely to overspend simply because there's no physical exchange, no sense of giving anything up. And if you think about it, when you pay with cash, it triggers something that we don't even think about. A tiny moment of reflection. We hesitate even for a second. We ask, do I really need this? And with digital payments, that moment just completely disappears. And research backs this up because people who pay with digital wallets easily spend up to 15% more than those using cash, simply because they just don't feel the impact. And it's like Apple and Google have found a way to hack our brains, conditioning us to hand over even more money without ever really noticing it. And it wasn't always like this. You see, when digital wallets first emerged, they were more of a curiosity, a niche feature. And I remember when these wacky commercials came out, thinking that there was no possible way that any of this stuff would catch on. But when Apple Pay launched in 2014, everything seemed to change. Apple had a unique edge, the iPhone, and suddenly millions of people had instant access to Apple's payment platform right in their pocket. And it all took one click just to get started. Now here's something that we're seeing more of now. Apple isn't the only one that's making payments frictionless. Companies across all industries are pushing the same idea. And if you think about it, you can order ahead on apps like the Dunkin' Donuts app. They're trying to get you to pre-purchase some digital gift card and make payment extremely automated to the point where you're not even thinking about it. It's even integrating with Apple Pay. So now all you have to do is show up, grab your coffee, and go. There's no cash, no checkout lines, and often no human interaction happening. You walk in, pick it up, and leave as if nothing happened. Businesses want it this way because it erases that moment of hesitation. Fast food chains, coffee shops, retail stores, everywhere, they've all made payments so simple that it's almost invisible. But for a second, I want to focus on Apple here. They aren't just making it easy to pay, they're actually changing how we spend and even what we spend on. And this is a long, drawn-out process because for years they've subtly been changing our spending habits. Apple understood that making the payment experience frictionless would mean that we'd spend way more money. And as we spend, they profit. Because when you buy that $5 cup of coffee with Apple Pay, Apple takes a cut from the bank behind the scenes. You multiply that by millions of transactions every single day, and Apple made around $782 million alone last year from Apple Pay fees. Now that's millions of dollars generated by making our money feel like it's just not real. And it's not just the tech companies that are benefiting from this, because banks are feeling the impact too. When you pay with a credit card, banks make a small fee. Now usually that's 1 to 3% of each transaction and is called an interchange fee. But the tech companies are trying to now monopolize the industry with things like Apple Pay. So with Apple Pay, they actually are now, Apple is getting a portion of the fee that is going to those credit card companies as well. And they're trying to capture all of that money. So even Jamie Dimon, the CEO of Chase, has said that banks should be scared of tech giants entering finance. And I completely agree, because this isn't just about who controls the payment process, It's about who controls our experience of spending money. And by extension, it's our entire connection to our own money as well. Now, I'm not saying that Apple is entirely evil, but it is just phase one in their plan, because in recent years, they've launched their own credit card, they've launched a buy now, pay later service, and even have plans for savings accounts. And they're not just your phone company anymore. They're becoming your bank, your lender, and maybe soon even your financial advisor. Apple's revenue from services like Apple Pay has almost doubled since 2020, and they're betting that the presence in your financial life will only grow from here. They're also forcing traditional companies out of business in the process, trying to maximize their profit. But banks aren't just watching from the sidelines. You see, in response, some of the biggest names in finance are actually attempting to create a new kind of payment system. It's offering something that's extremely similar to Apple Pay, but it's owned by the banks. But here's the challenge. Will people really even care enough to switch back? I mean, consumer behavior has already shifted. We're used to using Apple and Google handling our money. It's simple, it's convenient, and it might just be too late for banks to reclaim anything in that space. And here's the future that these tech companies are targeting. You see, industry insiders are convinced that within a few years, there's only going to be a handful of super apps that will control most of everybody's financial services. Now imagine one single app that holds your payment methods, your bank accounts, and even your investment portfolio. In other words, a world where Apple or Google becomes the gatekeeper monopolizing everything you buy. Now, this isn't just about competition between banks and tech giants. It's about how these companies are shaping our relationship with money in general. Because when money becomes nothing more than pixels on a screen, it's extremely easy to lose sight of the value behind the money. So how do we avoid falling into this trap? Here are a few ways you can stay connected to your money. Set intentional spending limits. Decide in advance how much you're comfortable spending on certain categories like dining or entertainment and stick to it. Use cash when possible. When you pay with real bills, you're gonna feel the transaction. It's a simple way to reconnect with your spending. Try manual entry budgeting apps. Yeah, I know it takes effort, but having to log each transaction forces you to reflect on all of your purchases. And practice the pause and reflect before each digital transaction. Before you tap, take a second to ask yourself, just double check in your mind, is it worth it? That tiny pause can make all of the difference in the world. So here's the thing, in a world where money is becoming more and more abstract by the day, staying connected to it is a choice, because at the end of the day, the only thing that's more powerful than these tech giants is our own awareness and control. You don't want to let the convenience of digital payments distance you away from what really matters. Let's remember the value of every dollar and take back control of our financial future. Now, if you like this video, you're going to want to check out this one up here. It's going to be talking about the investment strategy that solved my consumption addiction, and it helps me avoid lifestyle creep. It's really great. I'm going to be charting that whole journey on this channel as well. So definitely check this out, and have a great day.